This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I'm your host, Raquella Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada and now working with tourism businesses in risk management, I am here to connect you with women who are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as business professionals with a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, motivate, and uplift you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. Be sure to leave a review, subscribe, and follow along. Hello, all you daredevils. We are back, another episode, and I am excited to have some fun today. The big word is fun. I am here today with Treena Innes, life fun expert. What better title is there than that? Exactly. She's also author of Doodles, and she has traveled all over the world, and she is here to chat with us today about her travels, about different ways to make life fun. And I'm so excited to dive right in. Treena, thank you for being here with us today. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a little nippy here in Kelowna. It's minus 20 something. It's cold, but we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Where are you joining us from today?
I am joining you from Maple Ridge, from the lower mainland of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley.
Beautiful. And how cold are you guys today?
I'm not going to complain. It's -2 and it's bearable.
Oh,
It's just hunker down season. Hunker down until the sun starts shining and heating up.
that's true. -2. I feel like that's like Mexico to us right now. That
Pretty
sounds
much,
great.
yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Have you always tell us a bit about yourself? Have you always been living in Maple Ridge?
No, I actually grew up on Vancouver Island, which is a beautiful part of the world. I tell people all the time it's kind of like going to Hawaii, and there's beautiful Gulf Islands and the beautiful islands out that way on the west coast. So I grew up in Port Alberni, which is on the way to Tofino, to Long Beach. And I knew even at a young age, I was always a city girl at heart. So as soon as I graduated, I got myself to the city. Here I am, never left.
Nice. Did
Yes.
you did you do any surfing at all on the island or a lot of water
No,
sports?
yeah, a lot of water sports. There's lots of beautiful lakes near us, so there was always the boats going and lots of hiking, lots of camping, tons of camping.
The island is absolutely beautiful. I feel like there's a
It
lot of
is.
people that live in Kelowna that go to Vancouver Island because we're so inland and we have the lakes, which are stunning. But then you go to the island and you get the feeling of the ocean and it just hits
You,
you.
it
Oof.
does. It's so rejuvenating. There's some beautiful, beautiful resorts, and there's great camp spots, and there are beauty trees there are gorgeous and unique, and then there's a bit of hippie, and then there's a bit of trendy, and you get it all on the island. It
Yeah.
is a great place to be. Yeah.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. With your move then over to the mainland and to where you are now, did you go to university or college in between in either place?
I did. So part of my journey was because I came from a small town, and I wanted to get out into the city and have a big career. So I started in the accounting world. I decided to be an accountant, and then I became a controller of a company, and it felt like every day was Groundhog Day. So I went,
Hmm.
okay, this this probably isn't for me. Even though business is a great base to have for anything in life. So I then moved into the technology sector with accounting software technology, and was part of the .com tech startup world, you know, first internet coming into computers and the web. And so I had a great journey in the startup sector. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with startups, a lot of the tech, did you have to do a lot of training for that, or was it a lot of on the go learning
A
or
lot of it was new. There was no,
yeah.
you were driving and paving the world at the same time, and it was the time of the .com, of all the business startups, so really going all across the world, um, buying up companies to embrace the vision of your new company, stakeholders, shareholders, and building really a vision.
Wow. And when you were doing that, did you have a lot of time to travel?
Oh, I traveled. Yes, I can still remember. I was,
Oh.
gosh, 20 something, and I was in I think it was Barbados, and I was on the beach and I was getting paid overtime just to be available. And I was like, what in the world is happening here? And I remember checking into the hotel, and it was really expensive at the time. And I remember I had to like call my husband to increase my credit line for my credit card because I couldn't even like pay two nights of hotel rates.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
So
a
that
really good time.
that took you a lot of places then,
It
that
did.
career.
Yeah, it took me a lot of really
Yeah.
cool places. Yeah, spent a lot of time in New Orleans. Spent a lot of time in the United States. Yeah, it was a good introduction to the world.
Beautiful. And with
Yes.
that type of travel, or actually really prior to that job, is tourism something you've always had a passion for?
No, growing up on the island, travel really wasn't part of the culture. You traveled with it in the islands typically, and because there was so much beauty on the island, you really didn't have to leave it. And it wasn't really like travel really wasn't a culture. I didn't grow up with it, so I didn't really know about it. So I would say no. I had no idea this was my vision.
Beautiful. And then I guess the travel bug started a little bit with that career that you were in with the startups and then grew from there. So
It did, yeah.
what type of travels then have you done? What type of travels are your favorite?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think you asked that question already. My favorites, like picking your favorite kid or your favorite
I did,
dog or your
yes.
favorite cat or your favorite parent or your favorite anything. My favorite is anywhere I've never been. That's really like that is like the
I
truth. Like
love that answer.
yeah, I'm determined. There's of course some places I will make exceptions or go back to, but my goal is to travel places I've never been. Sign me up. If I've been there, I prefer not to go again. I want to go somewhere new. But I've done all sorts of uh, journeys. I took myself to Tuscany on a
Mm.
eat, pray, love trip, and I went to a cooking school in this beautiful castle villa in the middle of nowhere, and went to Tuscany for about 3 weeks. That was a beautiful trip. That was a nice solo trip. I've done caving in Vietnam with bats and pitch black and swimming amongst I don't know what was in that murky water and camping out in the wilderness. I've done Amazon night hikes in the jungle. I've done sleeping on various floors. I've done bougie resorts. I've done the whole gamut. I've done a lot of different types of traveling.
Wow. And
Yes.
all of this while you still had the career with the startups?
No, this was I would say my when I knew this question was going to come, so I was doing some reflecting.
Hmm.
Like for my honeymoon, my husband and I we went to Europe, with our backpacks and did that traditional type of trip. But the real when I really went to more off the beaten path was I would say when my kids became teenagers. And the reason why was I was really looking for different ways to connect with them that was different. Because if anybody's ever had a teenager that's listening to the show, when kids become teenagers, they do not even want to like talk to you or hang out with you. So you really want to try and find that connection. And I thought, well, perfect. Going into like a different country, you have to rely on me. You have to talk to me because I'm probably the only person who speaks English. And
Smart.
so, yeah, so that was probably the start of, and then of course I wanted to do something that was very unique with my teenage kids. So my daughter and we went I wanted to teach her how to travel without money. So that was my big thing. I really was focused on, okay, what's a way we could travel? You don't have to be rich to travel. And so we joined the workaway.info program. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah,
It's
I've heard
like,
of it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a barter exchange. So you could barter, if I'm a graphic designer, I could barter my design services, and in exchange, I get accommodation or meals, or I could work at a surf shop in Costa Rica, or I could work on a farm. And so my daughter and I decided to work in this villa in Spain, and in exchange, we would get accommodations, and we had to do some gardening, and we had to do a bit of like housekeeping and some cooking. Like, oh, we could do that. And so that ended up being like a beautiful experience. And the reason it became even better, which I know you like, is because the lady that we were connecting with, she said to me, "Oh, we don't get such experienced applicants, probably there's a lot of 20 something year old
Yeah.
people that
Hmm.
to apply. And she says, how do you feel about house sitting instead of house cleaning? I'm like, heck yeah, I'd rather look after your big gigantic villa and your vineyards and your horses. So we ended up that we were in this beautiful part of Spain, in this tiny village with this beautiful vineyard and horses and this little ranch. And we stayed there for a good 3 weeks, and a beautiful pool.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a really, and again, the intent was to show my daughter how to travel differently. And that for sure was different.
That's beautiful. And that's
Yes.
it's funny that that's exactly where you went, because that's where my mind went, because I've been talking about it. My mother-in-law travels a ton, and I've always said, what about these home exchanges where you can
Yeah.
exchange and you can
Yeah.
live at someone else's
Yes.
home and they live at your
Yes.
home? It's such
Yes.
a
Yes.
great way to do it. And I think this even leads into a conversation I recently had with someone where a lot of people still are trying to figure out travel and whether or not it's something that is scary. If it's something where we can trust someone to be in our home, how can we do that? How can you trust to be in their home? But genuinely, people are pretty good. There are some bad seeds out there, but it is a great way to learn that you can go travel the world and meet some incredible people that will change your perspective in your life. So good for you.
Yes.
What a
Yes.
great experience with your
Yes.
daughter. That's
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And then my son, who is a bit more adventurous. So we went to Japan and we did a hiking trip. So we found a company who they coined themselves off the beaten path type of travel. And we did a backpacking trek to the Kamanakoto Trail for 10 days. And we did homestays as well, where we slept in people's homes. I slept on the floor with a little, I don't know if you've been to Japan, but
I
those are
have.
like filled with
Yeah.
rice and they're hard as a rock.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty traditional. It's pretty accurate.
And like a thin mat on the floor.
Yeah.
So that was a really unique trip, and it was very spiritual. We spent some time at the end with a monk without speaking, and it was a beautiful journey of again having to rely on each other and backpacking from village to village to village. And again, to those listeners who might think, oh, that's like crazy. But day 3, we were running into a couple that was also on the same trip as us, and I noticed they didn't have their big backpacks with them. And I said, well, how are you, like, where's all your stuff? And they're like, oh, there's a service that actually transports your backpacks to your homestays. Really? Do, 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 do.
Yeah. Give me that number, please. Thank you.
Done. So, you can get adventurous, but you also can have a bit of luxury. And for
Mhm.
me, that was great because my pack was probably 35 pounds. So it just gave me, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
a bit more when I'm climbing like this, a bit more speed.
Such a great idea. And what a beautiful way to be able to connect with your kids. And I can imagine that that is a lifelong memory you guys are going to have and cherish forever.
Yes, yes. And so that really was what started for me personally, was
Mm.
them on this journey to explore. So I really love this kind of different type of travel versus, going traditional all inclusives in Mexico, or a trip to
Mhm.
Hawaii, or a trip to Disneyland. So I really started to then really dig into some unique traveling. Myself and a girlfriend, we did a yoga retreat in Costa Rica, which was like
Mm.
amazing. Again, that Tuscany cooking school was amazing. I've done my husband and I, we did a hiking trip through Croatia and Slovenia, and again, found a company called Matt's Adventure. I don't know if you heard of them, but they book all your stays along the way. And again, they
Mm.
do it too, where you could go on the low end and maybe do homestays, or you can go a bit higher. You can stay in some nice resorts along the way and dip in a pool. So there's a lot of different ways to travel. New Zealand, I did a cycle trip recently through Grasshopper Adventures, is another great company that I use,
Mhm.
looking actually to use them this spring for a cycle trip in Thailand. So there's just a lot of great exploration and different ways to travel.
Absolutely. And you're bang on when it comes to the way that you're traveling and then suiting your needs or your desires for that trip. That you can still have the adventure, get off the beaten path,
Yeah.
but you can make it a little more high end, a little more comfortable, or if you're okay
Yeah.
doing the hostels or on the mats, totally fine too, or do a bit
Yes.
of both. And that's
Yes.
actually bang on with how my husband and I were traveling when we first started was a lot of all inclusives, which we loved. And then after a while, we're like, we kind of just keep walking into the resort and we smell stale alcohol
Yes.
everywhere. And it's the same thing over and over
How long has
and
that
over.
been in the sunshine?
Exactly. And we then started say, like we love the Caribbean, so we would go, but instead we would rent a car. We would find different places to stay. We would try to do a couple islands instead of one. And I agree, it's just changes your perspective and it gets you to experience the way the locals experience. You can shop at the food markets. You can make your own breakfasts. Just figure it out that way. So good for you. That's absolutely incredible. With the places you've been to, is there any stories that strike you as like one of your favorite or most funniest moments with the places that you've been?
So I'm gonna just draw on the recent one we just did, was, so I have a vision, to live and work in a new country every year, and this year
Mm.
was the startup of that journey. And so I did almost 3 months in the UK and Ireland, and the intent of that was to be able to live like a local, so that the I was really focused on doing anything touristy. Um, we even bought like a car while we were there, like an old rust bucket car, like literally back to like our teenage years of like the
I love
muffler
it.
was like hanging off. There was like cracked mirrors. We couldn't see out the mirrors. The engine light like came on. It was purple. We called it like the purple haze. So, we were really, as again, kind of that, we're not on a train sleeping on the floor for days on end, where, we do have a car, but it was like we were teenagers again, just driving around this. And the first day I was driving, because you're on the left hand side, I like the hubcap went flying down the road, and we're driving on like one lane country roads. And it was just, yeah, it was kind of like just a real feeling free, feeling
Yeah.
really, really free. It was pretty awesome. And then if you have a car in a country that you can go off-roading, like you can really talk to the locals and find out where the little hidden gems are. And we went to some amazing, amazing places.
Such a great idea, especially if you're there for 3 months to to have your own vehicle. And you're right, the word freedom is so key in that too. So you're there for 3 months, you're in the UK, you're in Ireland. What would you say is the highlight thing to do when you're there?
Oh, well, we did a new hike every single day. So because I started work about 4 o'clock their time, which was about 8 a.m. My time here. So every day we would talk to a local and we would do a new hike every single day.
Nice.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So incredible. And
Yeah.
where would you just talk to locals in the supermarket, at a
Yeah,
restaurant?
so we stayed on farm stays. So that was the other thing. We stayed in accommodations that were super off the beaten path. We stayed in like a little tiny fishing village. So yeah, anybody that was walking or that we had at found at a market or on the farms, they would be happy to tell us their little secret gem.
And how do you find these places? So and I also love the vision of working somewhere different every year. That's incredible. So that was for
Yeah.
last year or this year? Like January?
Yeah, so it was last fall time. Yeah, so we got back in October. Yeah.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
how
yeah.
how do you find these places? What type of sites are you going on to look for homestays even?
Well, this one was a bit easier because the first time to be away that long, we picked an English speaking country, so that was a lot
Mhm.
easier. So a lot of times, I'll just go on like Airbnb or Homestay, or there's a lot of different websites you can hop on. And then I just start talking to like the owners. And then I'd say, do you have a friend, that's in this region? And they would have a connection. So really, it was just, I do a lot of digging. I think that's my
Yeah.
big thing. Like I'll start here, And then I'll reach out to my own network. That's the other thing I do. Like if I think like I want to go to Isle of Skye in Scotland, I'll put it out to my network. Has anybody ever been? Do they know anybody in that area? And so I'm like, yeah, I have a cousin that's there. I'll hook you up with my cousin. And then I'll talk to the cousin. The cousin like, oh yeah, my neighbor Betty, she rents out her apartment. It's like, so it's just like the connections of connections of connections of connections. So it's really just reaching out and just getting out there.
It's so true, and I feel like that's so relatable with the many aspects in life, but even more so when you're traveling just to find out who the connections are and who better to talk to than the locals because they are the ones that know where to go. It's just like and it's also the pride of where you live, and I find that a lot when traveling. There's
Yes.
so many locals you talk to and you say,
Yes.
"Well, where do you
Yes.
recommend?" And it's like their eyes light up, and it's just like I do
Yes.
in Kelowna. I'm like, "Oh, let me tell
Yes.
you. What are you feeling
Yes.
like?" Yeah, that's so is so incredible, and that's such a great idea because for the Airbnb travels I've done too, even Thailand, we've stayed at Airbnbs or places across the world, but I've never really thought like I've asked them for tips and ideas of where to go, but I've never thought about asking if they know someone in another area that we're going to go to anyway, and why not support someone they know. Great, great advice. I absolutely
Yes.
love that. Would you say something like that, living somewhere for 3 months, has been one of the most daring type of adventures that you've been on so far?
No, no. I would say it's unique because um you're literally taking your life here and uprooting it there, and you have to work. So it's not like
Mm.
you're completely free of responsibility.
Mhm.
So you have to make sure you're settled at. You have to make sure you have Wi-Fi. You have to make sure you have like a proper desk. You have to make sure that you've got your computer that hasn't got stolen along the way. That's your work place. So there. Yeah, I wouldn't say unique because you have to be very disciplined and you're still on, right? You have
Mm.
responsibility. You have to start work at 4. Um, and I think about all the things you see on Instagram with people at the beach saying, "Hey, I'm working." And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that,
How do we get that job?
but you get a good Zoom signal from like after surfing. Okay." So I would say unique. Yeah, it was. I'd say you have to be highly disciplined, and I'd say it's really kind of closing your eyes, open your eyes, and snap. You're in a different country. Closing your eyes, snap. You're in a
Mm.
different country. So it was really cool because you're just living your life, but in a different country.
It is really and it's that is a really good point because it's the discipline that helps get you to to clearly get up and not be a tourist and to do your job.
Yes.
But
Yes.
also, the time change, I can imagine, is a big one to figure out, and then working if you're now
Yeah.
working evenings versus, normally working in the day, which could work out well if you're traveling abroad, but taking your business so you and let's talk about your business. You've taken
Yeah.
a business or what is it that you're doing now that you're able to have the freedom to go work somewhere else in the world?
Well, actually, I do have like a proper day job. So I'm an executive
Mhm.
director of a nonprofit, and this is definitely like outside the box thinking, and with COVID, the world has really normalized working on Zoom. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like and I would say this would have been hard for organizations to wrap their mind around prior to COVID.
Mhm.
But now we can quite normalize being functional and operating with Zoom. I mean, it's definitely, I would say short term. Like, I can't
Yeah.
see for me in my current job doing that for over 3 months. I think 3 months was kind of a good time frame. But if you have, a good team and you've built sustainable systems in your workplace and you are reachable and can communicate well, it's definitely possible to
Mhm.
work remotely. And again, you have to be disciplined. Like for the oddness of working abroad was I actually had to start, I did my day first. It was almost like I did shift work. So I did my day
Okay.
first, and at 4 o'clock I was hunkering down to work till midnight.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes. So that you had to yeah, you had to turn your day upside down.
Absolutely. Which I guess
Yeah.
isn't the end of the world when you're traveling and you wanna still be able to go out and do things, and it just is what it is. You're right. You're living and working abroad. So you make
Yeah.
it work the way you need to do that, which is
Yeah.
incredible. And you're bang on with the people you see on the beach that you're just wondering, how are you doing this? Unless it's a lot of content that's being created, but then you still have to put it all together, get it on the computer. There's still a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So but then it's like, if they can do it, why can't we do it? If it
Yeah,
works, it
you
works.
can.
Yeah, you can.
It's the Wi-Fi
Exactly.
connection.
I love that. That's incredible. Okay,
Yeah.
so last year was the UK and Ireland. Where is it this
Yeah.
year that you're wanting to work abroad?
Well, I'm one of those people that I don't plan too far ahead.
Mm.
I really try to sit in the space of the last trip I took and make it last with my
Mm-hmm.
energy and my spirit with it. And so I usually I don't book pretty quickly. I just kind of like, and literally I also went to Colombia last year. I closed my eyes and put my finger on the map and made sure there wasn't like a red dot there. I don't know if you can see my map behind me, but I got red dots
Yeah,
everywhere. And then
yeah.
I ended up going to Colombia. Yeah, so that
I
was
love that. And the red dots are where
yes.
you've been on the map.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
incredible because right behind me is our map, and I've got all little red pins of all the places that I've been with my husband. But yeah, all behind me too. So I love that.
Nice.
That's because I'm usually too much of a planner. So I'm gonna
Okay.
actually take exactly what you have just said. And our next trip, I'm gonna say, let's like throw a dart. Hopefully
Yeah.
not with the
Yes.
wall, but
Super fun.
we'll figure that out. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, a dart or
And I'm glad I
something.
landed in Colombia. That was well. Actually, you asked me
Cool.
a question about the most unique and daring. That was one of the ones. Like the Amazon is wild. Like that is a wild place to visit. And we were on a night hike, and that's when all the dangerous animals come out. The snakes, the tarantulas, the most dangerous frog in the world, and you're literally hiking in the pitch black, relying on this guide that you've never met before in your life, who apparently grew up in the jungle, and you're brushing, you're like a little tiny trail that you're brushing against, and the guy
Oh.
tells you to speed up fast because the ants, there's a million ants are gonna crawl over your body if you don't start running.
What?
What?
And how many
Who booked
people?
this? Who booked this?
I'm imagining it was you.
Yeah, yeah. My husband's like, I'm never traveling with you ever again.
Oh, wow. How many people dare to do that? Like, how many people were on that tour?
Well, it actually no, it was just my husband and I and the two guys.
Oh,
And one guy had the machete, and then the guy who lived in the jungle.
I don't know if that's better
Um,
or worse that it's just the two of you going.
but we stayed in an eco lodge and
Okay.
in the Amazon, and it's a beautiful eco lodge. We uh there's a beautiful family that owns it, and I think there's 8 people that can stay at a time, and you have to take uh, a plane and a boat to get there. And part of the traveling we haven't got into yet that's been really part of my heart is that the meeting the people, the cultures, the indigenous tribes, the villages, the chiefs, the families, the children, and giving back, and how we can help. So a lot of times it's well, actually the Amazon trip, the indigenous tribes asked us to bring learnings from our indigenous tribes here from Canada.
Oh, wow.
So that was very special. So I brought some healing herbs and some medicine bags, and I brought some beautiful necklaces that our First Nations here made for them. And so I was able to do a lot of honoring from our Canadian First Nations and bring it over to the Amazon. It was very beautiful.
That's
Very
incredible.
beautiful.
That is
Yes,
so
yes,
incredible. And
yes.
what a huge reminder, to honor where we live too, and honor the people of where we live, the indigenous culture that's in all the countries that we're in. And wow. So when you were booking that trip, how did that come about? Did you start talking to them and let them know that you were going to bring
Yeah,
something, or how did that
yeah.
go?
So I don't usually, so almost every trip that we've done or I've done, um I usually find like a foundation in the country. So actually went one trip as a family to Dominican Republic, and we found the country's foundation, and they were able to set up us to go visit a village, and then they told us what the village needed, so we were able to bring that. With Colombia, with the Amazon, we worked with a little boutique family travel company in that country, and they were able to connect us with the indigenous tribe leaders, and they told us what they wanted. And sometimes it's things that they can't get in our country. So, sometimes it's bringing like a whole boatload of like Band-Aids, or sometimes it's best to shop in the country when you're there. So maybe you need like a bunch of school supplies, and then you could buy them in the country and bring it with you. And there's also a lot of airlines too. They'll do a charity bag, like they'll comp you a bag that you're bringing over as well. I don't know if people know that, but that's another little tip and trick that I've learned.
Great
Yeah,
advice.
yeah,
Great
yeah,
advice. And I actually forgot about that until you just jogged my memory, but you're right.
yeah,
That is something a lot of the airlines do, a
yeah,
charity bag
yeah,
that you can
yeah,
bring. Yeah,
yeah.
incredible.
But sometimes, it just they'll just need money. Like that, like that's just simple. And again, if so I was traveling in Vietnam, and there was one community that we were staying in, and they really just needed money. There was a lot of families that were very poor. And so we met with the principal of the school, and we were, able to give money, and it was done in a very honoring way. There was a ceremony, and it was documented so that it was legitimate. And so that was also something to think about too. Like sometimes we think we want to bring school supplies, or we want to bring clothing, or we want to bring, but really the country you're visiting, you have to ask them what they need.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I always bring Canadian stuff. Like I always bring Canadian flag, Canadian pins, or Canadian something. And then the kids wherever I'm going, they love the Canadian stuff. I think that's fun.
Oh, that's such a great idea. And what a beautiful way to honor, of course, where you're from, but to show, just show a piece of you and across the world. And I think that's so important and so special that you're doing that. That's absolutely beautiful. So with what you're doing now, so you've got executive director role, you're traveling
Yeah.
the world, you're
Yes.
making sure to obviously travel consciously, but travel with adventure and give back to the places that you go to. What is it you're doing to have the label of life fun expert, which I absolutely love.
Awesome. That's good. Joining the gang. That's great.
Exactly.
So I wrote, so when I turned 40, and I'm 53 now, I set myself a bucket list to write myself a book by the time I turned 50. And so I started writing this fiction novel called Behind Closed Doors. And it had a bunch of juicy characters that were all intermingling with each other. And of course, what you saw on the outside wasn't what was happening on the backside. And the book was really, shaping up and taking off. But I kept getting really bored with the characters and what I was writing, and really I was just getting bored with myself. And so
Mm.
I decided to scrap it and write. I discovered quite quickly I had quite like a short game of writing and not a long game. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to write about what I know, because I got to get this book written by the time I'm 50. And so I just started writing vignettes of different topics. And, I think the first chapter starts off with embracing weird. So it's just about in life, about embrace the weird people are the best, right? They're the most interesting people at the party. They're the people that have the most interesting jobs. They dress like the best. And so that's a topic I knew about. Or friendship webs, right? That's another topic I knew about. And so just different vignette style. And the book I launched on this, big yacht party in Cole Harbor in Vancouver, big live band at the, beautiful summer night. Had a great time. My friends and 150 of my friends and family said it was the best book ever.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was super fun. But the real test was when it was going out to the world, right? Like your friends and family will always, pump you up. And so when it started selling on Amazon, strangers were contacting me and saying, how do you live this way? How do you live so vibrantly? How do you live with such spice and zest and adventure and journeys? And I'm like, live what way? I'm just living. I'm just everyday person, just living life. And I then I realized maybe I'm living a bit of an extraordinary life of fun and adventure. And that got me really thinking about, this is my next journey of life, my next vision. If I can help people live with more fun and liveliness and spirit and zest in their life, then that's what I'd love to do. Hence,
Oh,
this is here I am, life fun
and here
expert.
you are.
Here I
And
am.
this is clearly where you're meant to be. And I'm a firm believer that it takes certain things to get you to, let me rephrase, it takes certain steps and action to get you to a certain point. And clearly you put the goal of writing a book by 50 and you didn't know what it was going to look like, but you did it anyway. And as you're doing it, you're growing and you're learning who you are. And then now to have that feedback, what a compliment. And I can
Oh,
even tell from
yes.
your energy, like through the video, I can tell your energy and your vibrancy. And you're right. And even these stories, just hearing you talk about what you've done and how outside of the box it is how can I connect with my kids? How can we do something different? And you and your husband do something different and live life vibrantly. And I can understand how people would reach out and see that craving it and be like, wait a minute, hold on, she's got the sauce. How do we get that sauce? I want to eat that sauce. How do we get it? So good for you because a lot of the
Yeah.
women I talk to on these podcasts, it's all about their passion and following their passion to get them where they are. And a lot of them work in tourism or have just traveled the world and found their passion through that. So very, very beautiful that that's what you're doing now. So as you now are dubbed the life fun expert, what is your vision? Where do you see yourself, or what is the next vision, I should say, for yourself and the company?
Yeah, the vision is a fun movement, a worldwide fun movement. It is prioritizing fun. So I have been the last year really understanding fun, like really reflecting on what fun gives to us. And it's fun health. So we talk about mental health, physical health, emotional health, sexual health, men's health, women's health. We talk about, I'm betting an average about 10 times a day. Like there's, something
Absolutely.
about health, food
Yep.
health, diet health,
Yeah.
and energy, hormones. Like, I mean, for women, it's huge. And but we don't talk about fun health. And we know, and I know now, there's a bunch of data behind fun. So if we have fun, if we find out what gets us lively, and it might not be traveling the world, it could be having more bubble baths or getting out in nature more, or it could be just having, some best friend time or whatever gets you amped up or lively. That helps our mental health. It helps us with our
Mm.
stress levels. It gives us energy. It makes us sleep better. It releases feel good endorphins. It balances our hormones. It gives us vitality. It helps us like age better. Like there's a whole list of science data about having fun and living lively and playing that helps our health. So my vision is to create a fun movement where we prioritize fun, and it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And we
Yeah.
we are we are completely wired
Yeah.
to work first, play later. And when I grew up that way, right? My mom, bless her, she, when are you gonna stop gallivanting? She'd say to me. I'm like, well, I like gallivanting. And when are you gonna slow down? When are you gonna grow up? When are you gonna become responsible? We're all wired to be responsible first, and play and fun is a luxury that you have to earn if at
Yes.
all you get to it in your week. And talking to women, prioritizing fun over all of you gotta clean the house, you gotta get your work done. We all have big careers, working nonstop. The responsibility, it just gets in the way of us prioritizing our liveliness. So my goal is to create a fun movement where we're all prioritizing fun in our lives.
However I can help you create this movement, I am
Join,
1,000%
join
in.
me.
I am so in. And the biggest thing that comes to mind as you're explaining that is I've had these moments on vacation where I just feel so at peace. I'm able to sit, have my coffee, really feel submersed in the moment that I'm in. And then I've come back and I've posted about it on social media. I've talked about it to people at work. I'm like, why is it we only get that feeling when we're away? How do we create that feeling here at home? Because having 20 minutes watching the sunrise, you can do that anywhere. But why is it we choose to wait to do that when we're across the world? So I absolutely agree with you. It is so important to have fun or find those moments of fun and create them. And you're right, it could be a bubble bath. It doesn't need to be travel. But what a great movement that is. And I'm very curious about all this data. So send me some of this data or wherever I can find
Okay,
it. I will.
good.
Yeah. I'm
Yes,
very
yeah, I
curious
will.
about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's I felt I had my last workshop. Actually it was the science behind the fun, like why we should have more fun, why we should prioritize fun, and about, using bucket lists and fun lists to track ideas. And so Dr. Mike Rucker, which I'll connect you to his findings. He wrote a book on the fun habit, and it is all about that science about, again, carving out time in the day to laugh, to play. And again, it can be just little, like it can just be a
Yeah.
little thing that brings you joy. There's another author, Catherine Price. She talks about power of fun, and she really believes about that. We need to unplug. Like we're too like we're spending an average 5 hours a day on our phones. That's like an enormous amount of time that we're just too plugged in, and that's
Yeah.
dampening all of our fun and our liveliness and spirit. So there's a lot of good data and research out there on fun. And the living lively, I did a 30-day challenge to myself last summertime.
Mm.
And it was like lying in the grass and looking at clouds. That
Yeah.
something as simple as that. Or I try not to make it about food, but I love freaking ice cream. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm treating myself to a double decker today.
I love
And
it.
then
Well, it almost brings us back to our childhood, right? Fun can be in so
yes,
many different ways. And I know clearly for you, travel is fun. For me, travel is fun. It's that
yes,
excitement of I honestly love the plane rides. Like for me, that's almost my silence time. You're unplugged,
yeah,
you've got nothing going on, you got going on in your ear the whole
yeah,
time, right? It's almost
yeah,
this calming state. But it's true. It's how do you find that fun? But or you put your feet on the ground, you feel the grass. Like what did we do as kids? Right?
yeah,
How does this change? How do we
yeah,
continue to strive for that feeling? And I feel like there is some sort of shift or movement coming out of 2020 where we're all looking for that. We're all looking for more than just like you said, we work with, and this is what I used to be like. It would be work so hard, and my reward would be travel. I actually said to my husband at one point, when we were on a trip, and I was working 10 hours majority of the time on average a day at the travel agency. And I would be like, yeah, I'll be home at 5. I won't come home till 8 because there'd be a last minute client that needs to go somewhere. So my life was there. But then we were on a trip and I was like, oh, I'm like, man, isn't this great? Like we get to spend so much time together when we travel. And he kinda looked at me and he's like, "Carla, like, that's not actually that great." Like, because his hours are different, mine are different, he's like, "How is that great that we only really get to spend the most time when we travel?" And that hit me really hard, and I'm like, "You're right." I'm like, "Ooh, that actually really sucks," like, now that I think about it. But it's true, that was our reward, that was something we looked forward to. So how do we
mhm,
find that reward more here at home? When we are working or carving out the times. Yeah, it's
yeah.
great. I absolutely love that idea and that vision and thought. We all need it. We
Yeah,
do.
and I've had lots of this conversation with a lot of my friends and people I know, and I'm challenging them, and everybody should have at least one day to treat like a vacation.
Mhm.
So pick, it could be a Saturday or your Sunday or whatever days you work, but get one day where you're not doing errands, you're not cleaning the house, and go. And I even challenge people that you should leave your community. Like go leave your community. Like if you're jazzed up about going to farmers market, go to a farmers market in a different community. Hiking, pick a hike at a different, like leave the community like you're going on a vacation for the day, and leave all your responsibility behind and go play somewhere, go find a beach or a lake somewhere else or something, whatever amps you up, a bookstore, but treat it like a vacation day.
Great advice. I absolutely love it. It's Yeah, it's a great reminder. I think all of us need the reminder. And going into 2024, I think it's something we're all very open to, this reminder. Whereas, pre 2020, a lot of people would be like, we got to work. No time for that.
Yeah,
Let's keep
I
moving.
gotta pay my bill.
I'm busy. Yeah, busy. Do that tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is really beautiful and it's great what you've created. Talk to me a bit more too about Mind Doodles. What is Mind Doodles and how did that even come to be a fruition to you?
Yeah, so my doodles is really what goes on in my head. So I'm kind of like "Do, do, 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 do," got this and this and this and this and this, and my brain is I'm either on or I'm off, and I sleep like a baby because when it shuts down, I'm out. If there's a fire, you better like poof me out the window or something. But and the book again is written vignette style. There's no chapters that make sense to another chapter. Like you literally can pick up the book and just read one chapter. It takes you 5 minutes. So the mind jewels is these are all the things that are happening, and of course travel is a big part of for me living lively. Friendship is a big part of me living lively. Nature is a big part of me living lively. And so these workshops are kind of the mind doodle styles of different topics of
Mhm.
living lively. And the one I've got coming up, which is February 3rd, that you're coming to, is all about unique travel and traveling in different ways.
Love it. And again, another reminder, how do you travel lively? And it again, unique travel is it's so multifaceted because there's so many different ways to do it, which is so exciting. I'm very excited to chat
Yes.
about it with you. Yeah,
Yes.
very
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
So for someone that is looking to write a book, looking to do something where they have a goal and they have this thought, and I love that you gave yourself the, "Hey, by 50 this is happening." What advice would you have for them?
Well, I think that you have to understand where your skill set is in writing a book. Like, can you write? Can you
Mhm.
not write? Do you like one thing? We learned already from what I shared was I thought I was a fiction writer, and I'm
Mhm.
not because I don't have a long game. My game is very short. So trying to understand your writing style, and then also when I finally wrote all my vignette chapters, I also then realized I actually don't even know how to pull like even put a book together. So I hired a lady. Her name's Sylvia, and she's called the Book Whisperer. And so she actually helped me pull together the book so that it made sense and really guided me through how to get it published and the design of it and the flow of it and all the nuts and bolts. And she also had a very, very, very red marker that she marked up my manuscript. Like a teacher,
Just
like a
just like the movies, I was thinking. The movies.
yeah. I was like, I thought I was a good English person, but
Hey, constructive feedback is very important in our journeys. For
yes,
sure.
yes. So,
Uh,
yeah, so I would say you definitely need to build yourself a team
yeah,
to get
that's
that
very
book
true.
into your hand. Yeah, yeah.
Very, very true. It's incredible, and I absolutely love your journey. I love your story. I think it's very inspiring to think about all the travels that you've done and how you've done it, and you've been very conscious about how you want to travel. And
Mhm,
that I think
mhm.
is super important for a lot of us to remember because that's how we're going to get the most of it out of our experiences too. So for anyone that's listening that has thought it might just not be for them to travel differently, to travel unique, to do something off the beaten track that seems scary, what would you say to them?
I would say that some of the best security blankets, like I am definitely adventurous, and I am definitely I I'm a risk taker, but I'm also a mom. And I'm a wife, and I know the people in my life don't. They want me to come back from wherever I'm going.
It's important.
So yeah, safely. So I have that in my mind.
Yeah.
But what I do is I find a company that is in that country to to be with me during my journey. So when we went to, as an example, to Colombia, we met this beautiful company that was like the brother-sister team, and the grandma started it. They lived in the country in Colombia, and we had a WhatsApp. We're connected with WhatsApp, and so if I was ever in any dangerous situation, I could say, "Oh, hey, hey, da da da," and they would completely root me through it, or vice versa. They, like, a big part of any country I like to go, and I love to go to the cultural events, like any sporting event or concerts. And they said, you should not go to like a soccer game because it's very dangerous. So they would really help kind of maneuver through the safety of any of the countries.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great advice. And what
Yeah.
company was that?
Eric Canto, and they're actually coming to the workshop as well. So, yeah, you'll fall in love with that family for sure. But and then
Perfect.
lifelong friends, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Like, well, it'll be connected. And of course, if they would come to travel to Vancouver, I would happily host them here. And yeah, so these are deep connections of people who really are very proud of their country, and they want you as a tourist to have the best experience, and of course the safest experience, because they want you to tell the people to come visit their country, which is what it's all about. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is
Yeah.
the best way. And it's such a reminder chatting with you today, just about how important it is for us to put ourselves out there, for us to cross the invisible barriers that are on a map, the invisible lines where we can actually go and experience another culture and chat and invite them into our homes too. So it's incredible that you're
Absolutely.
doing that. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. So where can people
Yeah.
find you? Social media, your website?
Yeah, everywhere. So actually just hop on my website, www.minddoodles.ca. My Insta's on there, my Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. So yeah, hop on there. All my socials are on there. Come
Perfect.
join me. Come join me in the
Yeah.
fun movement.
Yes, I love it all. And February 3rd, I am really excited to chat with you with your workshop, with all these other incredible women, and obviously speak to the Columbia tour operators too that hosted you. So thank you again just for sharing your journey, your inspiration. And I think this really is a fun movement. And I think a lot of people are going to be hopping on. So really excited for you.
And thank you for inspiring me. So I want to just, showcase my little living room office that you inspired me to do from yours.
I love it. I love it. Well, and it feels like we're just in a living room right now.
Yeah.
So you can hop over to
Yes.
YouTube and see us in these living rooms. It's great.
Thank you.
I
Thanks for
love it.
inspiring me.
Thanks, Treena. When it comes to beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver Island is definitely one place to put high on your bucket list. As your island gateway, Nanaimo Airport is conveniently nestled in the Central Island. It's located right between the hubs of the Cowichan Valley and Nanaimo, and you're only moments away from the ocean surf, mountain bike trails, year-round golf, wineries, and majestic mountains, just to name a few. The air terminal building has more than tripled in size over the years thanks to many projects that have taken place and a 20-year expansion plan for the building. And super fun fact, did you know that Nanaimo Airport actually started out as a base for the Royal Canadian Air Force? It was for glider pilot training facilities and wartime emergency airfield. And now more than 80 years later, it's a regional airport that's connecting Vancouver Island to the world. So definitely put Nanaimo Airport on your next destination list when you go to Vancouver Island. So go get outside and explore. If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. You can also search for the hashtag She Dares to Travel Podcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I'd love to answer them all for you guys. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.